Hello my beautiful people, and welcome to the next in the series of All About the Signs. So today, as you can see, it is all about Sagittarius. So what to say about this wonderful sign? Before we get started, I just want to give you some sort of prior information, or rather some just some thoughts or some insights. You could, in my personal opinion, my humble opinion, you could never fit into just a 20-minute video on YouTube all about a sign. You could never really express or define all of what a human being is and all of their potential in just a 20-minute video based on just one aspect of their chart. These are supposed to be fun, they're supposed to be informative, they are supposed to highlight some things to you, they're supposed to be, teaching effectively in a small way, and it is really, my voice is just 1 in 7 billion. This is just my unique take on it, and it's some of the things that I've put together. And one of the things that I want to mention is when I talk about the lessons, I don't like to split things into good and bad and positive and negative, because it's really limiting, right? So the reason I have split them into lessons and blessings is because I believe the blessings are things that are innate within you, that are beneficial to you and to the people around you, and the lessons tend to be things that will happen or arise when we are unconscious of aspects of ourselves, or things within us that trigger certain feelings, emotions or behaviors. So these videos are for that, whether you are a sun sign Sagittarius, a rising Sagittarius especially, or a moon sign, or you have a heavy amount of planets in Sagittarius. This is just giving you an overview or an insight into what this energy is about and what it brings to the table and to the world at large. So with that said, Sagittarius, this is the glyph for Sagittarius. So when you see this symbol in astrology, you know that you are looking at Sagittarius itself. When you see this is the glyph for the ruling planet of Sagittarius, which is Jupiter. And Jupiter is it's big, it's bold, it's expansive, it can be seen with the naked eye. It's the biggest planet, right? That giant dude up in the sky. And then the mode that this takes on is mutable fire. So when you see mutable fire, or when you see anything mutable, you're talking about something that is changeable, it's able to move, it is in the process of shifting and changing to become something else, which is why you find the mutable signs at the end of a season. So at the end of each season, it will be closed out by a mutable sign. So that is Sagittarius in terms of, its astrological associations. Sagittarius rules the 9th house, which is where you find travel, foreign cultures, but it's also where you find higher wisdom, higher knowledge, things like university and philosophy and law, and when we talk about law and Sagittarius, what we're actually talking about very often as well is the universal laws, like the bigger laws that govern, not just our human society, but also the world and the universe at large, right? I won't go too much in the 9th house, into the house, because I'm going to do the houses separately. So Sagittarius, I believe Sagittarius is bold and brave and out there. They have an innate personal fire. They are drawn to things that they know are going to expand their horizons, that are going to teach them. They have a really broad sense of taking on knowledge, of learning, of wanting to, there's a real hunger or a thirst and a passion for learning more with Sagittarius, and what is one of the best ways to do that? One of the best ways to do that is to travel, is to go places, is to see different backgrounds, different cultures, different languages even, to what you are used to, because by that you grow, by traveling to various different places. And I laugh as well, because I kind of imagine Sagittarius to be the kind of sign that will go to university and would do a year on, would do probably a 5-year, would start as a 3-year course, end up doing a 5-year course, and each year did something completely different, and then just wrapped it all up in the end, because there is this hunger and this desire for learning and digesting information and taking really big broad concepts, working around and then chopping them up and bringing them out to people in ways that everybody can understand. It's a very inclusive sign, Sagittarius, and I personally believe that Sagittarius and Aquarius have a lot in common. They really, really do. You know, it's just a feeling that I have, and I see Aquarius as you know, the group consciousness and the group itself, and I see Sagittarius as the higher mind of the group, or even the, you know, the soul of the group. So they're kind of like the soul and the spirit, you know, of the society, of, you know, of the group, of the tribe, so to speak. Sagittarius has a big lean in towards anything that is, you know, Sagittarius is a very spiritual sign. It's one that, you know, even the most, and I say this with all due respect, quote unquote, mundane of Sagittarians have an inkling that there is something going on there. I might not necessarily know what it is, but I understand that there are enough mysteries in life to say that we don't know everything, and that there is way more to the puzzle than we are probably able to see or intuit. You know, speaking of intuit, like I said, Sagittarius has a real leaning towards spirituality, towards understanding, towards all kinds of wisdom and learning, and you know, Sagittarius has a brilliant intuition as well. I mean, I think all of the mutable signs do to some degree, actually, because of the changeable nature. So let's have a look, you know, and the glyph as well that I wanted to talk about. So it's the archer, right? And it's firing that arrow out towards something. It's kind of like, what is the higher ideal? What is the higher expression? Sagittarius has a want and a need to go for what is bigger, what is beyond, what is different. And that comes into this whole question in nature. I know quite a few Sagittarians, and I tell you, very, very similar actually to Scorpio. They will drive towards something. If they feel like they know something, they won't rest until they know what they know, right? So with that said, we've got some of your blessings, your innate born skills and you know, additions, and your lessons. So Sagittarians tend to be big picture thinkers. They really are able to detach from it all and say, right, okay, what am I looking at? How do these pieces fit together? And that's a really wonderful skill, especially in a group setting or a group environment, because in that way they can keep people on target. You know, almost like a bit of like a shepherd, right? Which, you know, who was a shepherd? Religious, you know, and you'll find all kinds of religiosity and study of those things, theology, all of that stuff is ruled by Sagittarius, right? That's where you'll find all of this. So big picture thinkers, questioning, you know, always questing. That's one of the reasons for the travel, for the love of travel, always on a quest of some kind to gain more knowledge, to gain more insight, always asking what is next, what is behind that, what is broader and bigger outside of that. Studious, very studious. Lots of Sagittarian people I know are, if they're not educated, you know, academically, they are personally educated. If, you know, if they weren't lucky enough to go to school, or they didn't really feel school, they will educate themselves. Very, very studious. Sagittarians tend to, you know, like I said, it's not even necessarily just about academics. If they want to know something, they will educate themselves on the subject matter. Ethical, you find a lot of ethics. Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, has a lot of, you know, we were talking about law, right? So you find all of that here. It has a real protective influence as well. And for that reason, you find that Sagittarius has an innate leaning towards things, you know, towards things, or even towards behaving in a manner that is ethical, you know. And that doesn't just talk about within the group and, you know, oh, we must all stick to the rules. That talks about the animal kingdom as well. You find a lot of them really care deeply for animals, and why not? Sagittarius itself is half man, half horse. You know, there's this real connection to the flora and fauna of life as well. So vision, you know, and that comes down to this whole thing with the arrow. They can see into the future. They can see into or out towards the goal that we are all heading towards, right? I know where we want to be. And they will use that vision in order to build the path in front of them, right? So they always have this forward thinking vision, and they always have a clear idea of what it is. So if you ever have a group and you have a Sagittarius and you say, can somebody picture what would be like, it would probably be them that said, yeah, it would look like this, and these are some of the steps that we'll be able to take to get there. Fantastic. Teaching and mentors, by their very nature, they tend to teach people. Funnily enough, I've seen 2 interactions between Sagittarius children and parents, and 1 interaction between a Sagittarius parent and 3 children. And watching those dynamics is really, really interesting, because there is, the Sagittarius kids are teaching their parents how they want to be parented, which I thought was a phenomenal interplay of human evolution and just interaction. It was, really amazing to see. Sometimes it's not easy. It really isn't, because Sagittarius has its own path. It will follow its own path. I don't know if you know this, but horses, oh shit, if they don't want to budge, they're not budging. That is it. Stubborn as the day is long. The saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That's not just because they know when water is stagnant. It's also because they are very, very stubborn. So yes, teaching and mentors, and they tend to teach by example. Sagittarians are very much sleeves up, hands-on sort of people. It's not, I'll tell you what to do and expect you just to do it. I will get down and dirty in the mud with you, and I will show you how I expect it to be done, and I will be there right beside you. Very, very group people orientated. Really love that about them. Inspirational. I have a really good understanding of how to tap into that spark of an idea. It's fire, right? Even more so, it's mutable fire. How to take an idea, how to take just a small idea and grow it and expand it and build it into something bigger, something broader, something higher than what it started at. Expanding those ideas. Jupiter, now you start to get a sense of where all of this big, broad, higher mind, higher understanding, higher wisdom, philosophy, even religious kind of thought. There's almost like a need for them to find meaning in things, and you really find that with Sagittarius, the 9th house, and Jupiter. It's all about finding the meaning or the true understanding or the true essence or source of something, whether that's a person, an experience, all of that stuff. Caring, very, very caring. Sagittarius has a real, like I said, for flora and fauna, and this goes right into the whole ethical thing. I don't feel like you can really separate the two. I don't think you can be an ethical person and be unfeeling or uncaring. And anyone that tells me any different, still, that's my personal opinion. I will let you guys decide for yourself. But truthful, Sagittarius is all about the truth, and I think that's one of the reasons them and Aquarius get on so well, because they can just speak not cold, but speak hard facts and just go with absolutely what is. It's kind of like, what? And one of the things is Sagittarius does not have a filter. There is no filter between this and this. There is no filter between this and this. There is no filter with Sagittarius. It's pure, it's unadulterated, and it will just tell you exactly as it is. And very often, that really is the best for the situation. And I think this is one of the reasons people get it confused. Not confused. Sagittarius can be very feisty. I'll be the first person to tell you that. But sometimes it's because there is no filter, because they won't pretty it up. They'll just tell you what it is. Sometimes for that reason they can come across a bit like, oh, okay, wow, did you just say that? Yes, I did. Adaptable. This goes back to this whole idea of mixing and mingling with different types of people, with different types of places, different energies, all of that stuff. So really adaptable, very much so. Travelers, natural travelers. nomadic even, you know, to a point, and you know, and they're quite happy to do that, you know. Very often, you know, live a year in this country and spend 3 years in that country and come back to the hometown and then live in another town and move state and you know, that's and it's natural for them because that's how they learn about the world. It's also how they intuit who they want to be, and what it is that they get from their environment is actually very important to them. And I've put linguist here, but that's more kind of like getting into what they could do for work, etc. But yeah, language, speaking, talking, you know, bouncing ideas off of people, sharing ideas, you know, a talk stick. I bet a Sagittarius came up with that idea. Or possibly I don't want to speculate on that, but you get my idea, hopefully, about a linguist. So some of the lessons. And when we talk about lessons, I think we are all so self-deprecating. I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody in the world, you do this wrong, this is bad about you, you know, bleh, all of that crap. I'm not doing it. So what I'm telling you is there are some lessons that come with being each, and I've done this for all of the signs. There are some lessons that come, and the lessons are unconscious aspects of self that may come up in patterns of behavior that are not beneficial for either us or other people. Right. Quite proud of myself. Right, with that said, so fanatical, right? And this comes into, because you find theology, religion, you know, higher connection, source, wisdom, all of that stuff in its unconscious association. This is where you get, you know, people that will, you know, preach and be really zealous, and you know, those sort of almost like religious terrorists, all that sort of stuff, fundamentalists, like, you know, the really hardcore stuff. And when we talk about fanatics, these are people that, you know, are so drilled in and honed into something that if you don't agree with me, oh, you know, then that's it, you're going to the bad place, or you know, it's fanatic, like really over obsessed with something, and you know, really trying to force it on others, which kind of feeds into this whole preacher dictator sort of mindset or mentality that, you know, Sagittarius in its unconscious form can really be that. And when people disagree with that, it can get quite hardcore because of the truthful aspect, right? So again, when we talk about feisty, this is what we're talking about. Gossip. I laugh at this one because I think everybody, it doesn't matter what sign you are or how gifted or enlightened you think you are, everybody likes a little bit of drama. It's part of the human condition. I'm not saying I agree with it or that it's right, I'm just saying. But yeah, they can have a tendency to gossip, and one of the things is with the whole Jupiterian aspect, there is that sometimes they will embellish, right? So it's not just about like being in the gossip. It's like, oh yeah, and did you know that, you know, I'll add some fuel to the fire, and it kind of gets bigger and bigger. You see my point. Because of its usual depth and wisdom in the unconscious sphere, Sagittarius can be quite superficial, very akin to Libra. You know, will go for what is pretty and what I like and what excites me, and, you know, what rubs me up the right way, and then once I'm done with it, I'll just be done with it. But, you know, can just skim the surface and, you know, kind of be off. You know, and it's funny as well, because if you think Sagittarius is the direct opposite of Gemini, and you know, if you're operating in the worst of your sun sign, you tend to have traits of, you know, the worst traits of your opposite sign, as my astrology teacher says, contrary. And this is another one as well. When you think about this, it's kind of, there are moments where there is a real rebellious nature. There are moments where it's kind of like, well, if you say black, I'll say white. If you say left, I'll say right. You know, it's that kind of contrary. And one of the other things about this as well is this whole idea of fanaticism as well, and the preacher. It's kind of very, with the contrary side of it, it really is kind of, you know, almost just for the sake of being different, not even that there's any real reason or feeling or meaning behind it. You know, there's that word again, meaning, and it can swing both ways. yeah, name and place drop. So, oh, you know, well, when I was fishing in Rangoon and staying at an orphanage in da 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 da. You know, very, very, and that kind of feeds into this whole idea of superficial. It's about impressing people. It's, you know, about, well, yeah, you know, like, and a lot of these things will be throwaway. And these are all unconscious traits, you know, when we say name and place drop, because they've travelled so far and wide usually. There is this kind of like, well, you know, I've got a memory bank of things that I can just chuck into a conversation and then flick my hair and walk off. I am joking. Humour is one of the other things that I forgot to put here for Sagittarius. Great humour. Unscrupulous. And when we say unscrupulous, because, you know, like we said, there's this whole thing about ethics and caring and doing the right thing and law and stuff. In its opposite aspect, some kind of dodgy behaviour, you know, and love them and leave them, hit and run, you know, you can find some things in there that are, you know, and because they have this ability to wrap people up in fantasy, you know, basically swiping their pockets and leaving them dry. I'm talking about very, very extreme you know, cases here, but you get my point. Know-it-all. My dear Saggies, when you've been to so many places, met so many people, have so much information and knowledge at your disposal, it can be difficult to not, you know, and this is the thing, they know a lot about everything, and it's not like skimming the surface. Like Gemini will skim the surface and know a little bit about a lot. Sagittarius is one of those signs, very akin to Capricorn, I believe, that will know a lot about a lot. And sometimes that can give this almost an air of arrogance, you know, because it's kind of like, well, yeah, I already knew that. Or, yes, why didn't you know that? And it's like, oh, okay, because I didn't. You know, so just keep these in mind. And anarchistic. Yes, many Saggies I know, the older they get, the more disillusioned they get with the way that society is set up. When they look at the law and all of those things, they get very stressed and very angry about it. And I've found that in all of the Sagittarians that I know, the older they get, the more they look at the societal structure that we live in and say, that needs to go. You know, so it'll be interesting to see how we move into the future and how things develop and shape up going forward. And if Sagittarius and its anarchistic streak knew something that other people didn't, you know, Aquarius, Sagittarius, I told you, I feel there's a link there somewhere. So this was all about Sagittarius, and like I said, it was just supposed to be fun and informative. These are not absolutes. You may have a blend of all of these. You may have fewer or, you know, more of some and less and none of others. This is, like I said, it's just, we really have just like literally dipped into each sign with each one of these videos that I've done, and even then it's 23 minutes long. You could wax lyrically for a week about every single sign and still probably find new bits of information or expression of that sign through human interaction or behavior. So please keep that in mind, and I really hope I have done you Saggies justice. I wish you an abundance of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance itself. Have an amazing time, and I will see you very soon for more videos. Take care.